Good morning, students. This is my lecture number 1 for class 12th subject English, and the chapter name is The Tiger King, which is your lesson number 2 given in your Vistas book, the supplementary reader. The Tiger King is written by Kalki. In this chapter, we will cover these highlights. I'll give you the introduction of the lesson. I will let you know the theme of the lesson, and will talk about the main character of the Tiger King, the king of Pratibandhapuram. In the introduction part, I tell you this story, The Tiger King, is a satire on the pride and stubbornness of those who are in power. The writer Kalki takes us to the days of autocratic and eccentric kings. These kings lived under the thumb rule of the British, hence they fear them. And most of the time, the rulers were not interested in serving the people and working for the welfare of the public. Instead, they spent their time in foolish pursuits. Now, students, I tell you the theme of the lesson. Animals and birds are as much part of the nature as human beings. The destruction of one species may not only lead to its extinction, but it will adversely affect the ecological balance. Those animals which serve as food for the wild animals will increase in large number if the beasts of the prey are wiped out. Each species, howsoever fierce, deadly, ferocious or poisonous, has its role in maintaining ecological balance in nature. Now, I tell you about the hero of the story, the main character of the story, the king of Pratibandhapuram. The Tiger King, the Maharaja of Pratibandhapuram, who was also known as His Highness Jamidar General Khalidar Major Satya Vigrahi Samrahi Maharaja Dhiraj Vishwabhushana Samrat Sir Jilani Jang Bahadur. When it was 10th day of his birth, the chief astrologers came at Pratibandhapuram, the royal court. The chief astrologer spoke, "The child will grow up to become the warrior of warriors, hero of heroes, champion of champions." But he bit his lips and swallowed something hard. When he was compelled to continue, the chief astrologer came out with these words, "This is a secret which should not be revealed at all, and yet we are forced to speak out. The child born under this star will one day have to meet its death." Then, at this moment, a great miracle took place. An astonishing phrase emerged from the lips of the 10 days old Jilani Jang Bahadur. He looked widely at the old wise prophet, and everybody stood transfixed. Transfixed means motionless. They looked at each other and blinked. The chief astrologer got very much surprised to listen very clear words spoken by 10 days old child. The 10 days old child asked the prophet to explain the manner of his death. He said, it was quite common for all to die one day, but that would be meaningful if the chief astrologer would let him know the manner of his death. The chief astrologer took his fingers off his nose and fixed his eyes upon the little prince. The prince who was born in the hour of the bull. The bull and the tigers are enemies. Therefore, the astrologer declared that the death of this prince would come from a tiger only. After listening to these words spoken by the chief astrologer, the 10 days old child, Sir Jilani Jang Bahadur, gave a deep growl, and he spoke, "Let tigers beware." Then the Maharaja Jang Bahadur attended his upbringing in a different manner. His upbringing was quite unique. This crown prince grew taller and stronger day by day, and no other miracle marked his childhood days apart from the event already described. The boy drank the milk of an English cow, was brought up by an English nanny, tutored in English by an English man, saw nothing but English films. When he came of age at 20, the state, which had been with the coat of wards until then, came into his hands. This prince was declared the king of Pratibandhapuram. But everyone in his kingdom remembered the astrologer's prediction, and they reminded this Maharaja also, and the Maharaja came to know that it was very quite good saying that you may kill even a cow in self-defense. Therefore, the Maharaja should not have any objection to killing tigers in his self-defense. The Maharaja started out on a tiger hunt. When he killed the first tiger, he summoned means called, the chief astrologer to show the dead beast. The chief astrologer was called in his court, and he showed very proudly the dead beast to that chief astrologer, who told him the manner of his death. But that chief astrologer continued by saying, "Your Majesty, you may kill 99 tigers in exactly the same manner, but you would not be killing the 100th tiger ever in your life." This surprised the Maharaja. After listening to the words of the chief astrologer, it became a celebration time for all the tigers in Pratibandhapuram, because from that day onwards, the Maharaja declared that it would be only and only Maharaja for hunting tigers in Pratibandhapuram. The state banned tiger hunting by anyone except the Maharaja. A proclamation means declaration, announcement, was issued to this effect that if anyone dared to throw even a single stone at any tiger, all his wealth and property would be confiscated by the government. And the Maharaja vowed that he would attend to all other matters only after killing the 100th tiger. Initially, the king seemed well set to realize his ambition. During this tiger hunt, the Maharaja faced many dangers. There were times when the bullet missed its mark, the tiger leapt upon him, and he fought the beast with his bare hands. Each time, it was the Maharaja who won. At another time, the Maharaja was in danger of losing his throne. A high-ranking British officer visited Pratibandhapuram. He was also very fond of hunting tigers and fonder of being photographed with the tigers he had shot. So, he asked the Maharaja to permit him to go for tiger hunting in Pratibandhapuram. But the Maharaja refused. After listening to the refusal of the Maharaja, the British officer got very angry. The British officer's secretary sent word to the Maharaja through the Diwan that the Durai means English officer, himself did not have to kill the tiger. The Maharaja could do the actual killing. What was important to the Durai was a photograph of himself holding the gun and standing over the tiger's carcass. But the Maharaja did not agree even to this proposal. He thought if he relented means became mild, what would he do if other British officers turned up for tiger hunt? Then he thought over a technique of retaining his kingdom, because he thought now there is a fear of losing his throne. And now the Maharaja and the Diwan held deliberations. Deliberations means discussions over this issue. As a result of the discussion, a telegram was dispatched at once to a famous British company of jewelers in Calcutta, and the Maharaja asked the jeweler to send him the samples of 50 diamond rings. After some time, some 50 samples of different diamond rings arrived at Pratibandhapuram. The Maharaja sent the whole lot to the British officer's wife. The king and the minister expected that the wife of the British officer to choose 1 or 2 rings and send the rest back. Within no time at all, the British officer's wife sent her reply, "Thank you very much for your precious gifts." In 2 days, a bill for 3 lakhs of rupees came from the British jewelers. The Maharaja was happy that though he had lost 3 lakhs of rupees, but he had managed to retain his kingdom. Finally, he restarted his tiger hunt in Pratibandhapuram, and he could kill altogether 70 tigers in his own state. The Maharaja's tiger hunts continued to be highly successful for 10 years. Altogether, in 10 years, he could kill 70 tigers, and then an unforeseen hurdle brought his mission to a standstill. What was that? That was the tiger population became extinct in the forests of Pratibandhapuram. These were the gloomy days of the Maharaja. The Maharaja did not expect this to happen in Pratibandhapuram, but he could do nothing. He kept on waiting, but he could not detect any other tiger after killing 70 tigers in his state. The Maharaja sent for the Diwan. The Diwan came, and the Maharaja declared that he wanted to marry. The Maharaja gave a solid reason for getting married. He told the Diwan that the tiger population in Pratibandhapuram got extinct, but in order to fulfill his ambition of killing 100 tigers, he decided to marry a girl in the royal family of a state with a large tiger population. He asked the Diwan to draw up the statistics of tiger population in the different native states, and then he must investigate if there was a girl to whom the Maharaja could marry. The Diwan followed his orders, and he started finding a suitable match for the Maharaja. He found the right girl from a state which possessed a large number of tigers. Finally, the king, the Maharaja, got married to fulfill his desire of killing 100 tigers. Maharaja killed 5 or 6 tigers each time he visited his father-in-law. In this manner, he could kill 99 tigers. 70 tigers he already killed in Pratibandhapuram, and rest 29 tigers he killed in his father-in-law's state. And 99 tiger skins adorned the walls of the reception hall in the Pratibandhapuram palace. Children, the remaining part of the chapter we will do in our next lecture, and whatever we have studied till page number 14, you are supposed to answer the questions given in the read and find out box on page number 8, 10 and 13. Thank you. This is the end of the lecture. Have a nice day.